sorry guys. Our Zoom was muted. Ironically, this was a joke a few hours ago for the previous run of the previous group, and now it's reality. So thank you guys for sticking with us.
I'm your host, Preksha, and I'm a third-year sciences major. And today I will be presenting the graduation together with my co-host, Bram.
Thank you, Presha. I'm a science major, and I'm the treasurer of the Student Association, and I'm honored to welcome you to this graduation. And I hope you'll have a good time seeing your family/friends graduate and have their little cap go on the other way. Yeah.
So without further ado, let's welcome the graduating class of 2021.
Oh, in between, now that there's still some technical difficulties, do you have a funny story this year about Zoom? Personally, I had a moment where I had to organize electronic voting this year because I'm in the association board, and the vote, I still had to process some stuff because people had to sign up last minute, as usually happens. And then a vote happened a lot earlier than unexpectedly, so I was not having a good time. So in my rage, I was a bit annoyed. I shouted some interesting words into the room, but my chairman, who was sitting a meter next to me, was still speaking. So as the motion was made and I realized we had to get the voting system up running, I shouted something that the whole student body could hear in the background, which became a joke later. You have any other class moments?
Yeah, I think in a lot of my classes, we've had times where we accidentally send the wrong message to the wrong people, and sometimes it is very risky, depending on the nature of the message. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me, but definitely have seen it happen to other people.
Also, accidental weird YouTube recommendations have been an issue for student presentations. I'm getting a sign. Yeah.
All right, so now let's welcome the graduating class of 2021. Welcome everyone to your graduation ceremony. My name is Preksha and I'll be your host today. And this is my co-host Bram. And now I would like to invite the Dean, Martin, to come and open the ceremony.
Thank you. Good afternoon, dear class of 2021. Welcome to this year's graduation ceremony. Due to the COVID regulations, I've pre-recorded a welcome speech. that we will play in a moment. But I wanted to be here personally. Although this is a day of celebration, it is important that we together, as a community, acknowledge that not everyone could be here with us today. Our third-year student, Tasha Gavrilova, has recently passed away. We grieve this untimely loss, and we would like to wish her family, friends, and all of you the strength to sustain you during this difficult time. We have set up a memorial area on the third floor of the building, and we invite you to take a private moment if you want, anytime this week, to visit it. Please do not hesitate to reach out to any of our staff, our student life officers, or your tutor if you would like to do so. Before we start the ceremony, I would like to ask you to take a moment to honor Tasha's memory. Thank you. I would now like to invite you to watch the pre-recorded welcome speech that marks the opening of this ceremony. Thank you. Dear class of 2021, dear friends and families of the graduating students, and dear colleagues, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the 2021 graduation ceremony of Amsterdam University College. The ceremony this year is different than that of a usual graduation event. Unfortunately, we cannot all be physically together to celebrate this very important moment in your lives. The pandemic has also greatly affected day-to-day life at AUC. Digital classrooms, Zoom meetings, a decrease of personal contacts, health risks, being in quarantine, all these factors made it a particularly challenging period. You, the students, together with all the staff and faculty of AUC, have done your very best to retain AUC's defining features as a true academic community, and we are grateful and also proud of this. In that very same spirit of resilience and adaptability, students and staff have together organized today's ceremony to be within the measures of what is allowed, but still underscoring the importance of the event and its joyous nature. This year's extraordinary circumstances provide reason to reflect more generally on the nature of a graduation. After all, there's something odd about it. Why would you want to celebrate that you are leaving? Why would we be happy to say our farewells to you? Would a wish of yours to stay with us not be truly indicative of your success as a student here? The reason why this is silly, of course, is that today's event is not about saying goodbye. It is first and foremost an acknowledgement of your accomplishments. You completed your courses. You have acquired new abilities, committed yourself to a variety of projects inside and outside of class, forged friendships, and you did all of this in unusually difficult circumstances. To put it in the terms of the essential features of a liberal arts and sciences program, we celebrate today your further development and growth as a person. You have changed in ways that could not have been anticipated before starting at AUC. The values, ideas, knowledge, but also the dreams and aspirations that you now have and did not have 3 years ago are the results of your efforts, stamina, and actions, and that deserves honoring. Of course, you did not do so in isolation, but in interaction with friends, peers, and staff. And that is also why this celebration is something that we, as a true academic community, do together. Closely related to the ideal of personal development and growth is that of responsibility. Responsibility means being engaged with the world and taking up commitments. It is about the projects and endeavors that you choose to be engaged with, that you have decided to take responsibility for, and that shape you as a person. Of course, your responsibility does not end today. The knowledge and abilities that you have acquired allow you to contribute to the realization of a better world. This is especially important since we do not yet know which new possibilities and challenges we will face. It is up to you to decide how to use your learning, passion, and engagement. You have the possibility to make a difference, and today's celebration is also a way of marking this responsibility. Before I introduce this year's commencement speaker, let me emphasize that your graduation today does not mean a departure from the AUC community. You are and will remain a member of it, and you will always find a warm welcome here. You can also decide to be proactive as alumni and continue as mentors and supporters of the future classes of AUC. We hope that you will always remember the years here, the moments of wonder, hard work, frustration, discovery, excitement, and of sharing and friendship. I thank you for having the privilege of having you in the program, for your contributions to the AUC community, and I wish you all the best in the future. And now it is my great honor to introduce this year's commencement speaker, Professor Michael Poet from Harvard University. Professor Poet is the Walter C. Klein Professor of Chinese History and Anthropology. His introduction to Chinese philosophy belongs to the 3 most popular courses at Harvard, and he's the recipient of a Harvard College Professorship for Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching. Not on his CV, but certainly worthwhile to mention, he's one of the kindest, most open and generous scholars in the world. His teaching and research combines different fields of expertise and testifies to the value of transcending disciplinary and cultural boundaries for our understanding of the world and of ourselves. Although the pandemic didn't allow for him to join us in person, he was kind enough to record his commencement address, especially for this occasion. With our utmost gratitude to Professor Poet, let us now enjoy his message for the Amsterdam University class of 2021.
It is a tremendous honor for me to be here with you, even if only virtually, to congratulate you on graduating from Amsterdam University College. This is a tremendous honor, both because I'm a great admirer of the college and because I'm a great admirer of rituals in general, and most particularly graduation rituals. Graduation rituals, of course, are the moment where we celebrate the importance of education in general, and in particular for each of you, the importance of what you have been able to do over these past many years as you have learned in a specific sense, but in a grand sense. Learned areas of studies, but in a grander sense, learned to rethink your lives, rethink the world around you, gain the training you need for embarking on a life in front of you. And this is the moment where we congratulate you. You can congratulate yourselves for all that you have done and all that you are opening up for yourselves in the world to come. Now, I realize, and the fact that I'm giving you this address virtually only underlines the fact that this ritual is occurring in a difficult time. We're in the midst of a pandemic that has had extraordinary impacts on the globe. Many of us personally have suffered tremendous losses, and most immediately on a day in which we are celebrating education, it has had, needless to say, a dramatic effect on the nature of your education over the past year, affecting the fact that in-person gatherings have been dramatically limited. Much of our learning, much of our work has turned to the virtual world. And although this has gone, I think, in general, far better than many of us would have expected, we can't deny the fact that it's been difficult. Nonetheless, there's something about this that I would like to turn to, specifically today in the midst of a graduation ritual, because it might speak to some larger issues. And to make this point, I would like to bring in a seemingly bizarre example that comes actually about 2,000 years ago from the other side of the globe. I would like to talk about biographies from ancient China. And the reason I will be doing so will become very obvious very quickly. When you go through a lot of these biographies, there is a very general narrative structure that underlines several of them. Many people will be the subject of a biography because their lives are seen in some sense to be, to say it rather strongly, kind of a failure. And the structure of these narratives goes along the following lines. Often they are described as people who, from a very young age, fell into certain patterns of doing things, right? Certain ways in which they would interact with others, certain ways in which they would respond to the world. And these patterns would become so ingrained, it would end up defining how they formed relationships, how they acted in the world, and over time, what kinds of human beings they became. And the point wasn't even necessarily in these narratives that the patterns they fell into were, in a strong sense, bad patterns. The sense was rather they were patterned. They were failing to really respond to the world around them because they just became comfortable in a certain mode of being in the world. And then as the narratives continue, these lives simply end up being a repetition of those patterns. Inevitably, the key people will fall into situations where they would have needed to sense the world around them, sense what needed to be done in the world around them, sense the people around them, sense their needs, sense how they could respond to the situation to help everyone around them, both in a mundane sense and in a larger sense. And for these negative narratives, the sense is they kind of failed, right? They didn't see the world around them. They didn't see that the life that they had become comfortable with had certain dangers and had impacts in other lives they weren't seeing. And failing to see that, they just kept repeating the same patterns and didn't change the world around them. And the moral of the narratives, needless to say, is deeply critical. These were people who could have done crucial things at crucial moments and didn't. And then you get the narratives of the positive versions of this, which are fascinating. The positive versions are not that these other humans fell into good patterns. The positive version is rather, it begins kind of the same way, because the sense is all of us fall into these patterns at a young age. So early on, the narratives are identical with the, so to speak, negative ones, and people's lives continue in these very patterned ways. And then one, but often a couple of things will happen. In the positive ones, people begin doing ritual training. Ritual training, which involves, in the classical Chinese sense, the training to begin to really see the world around you, training yourself to break out of your patterned responses to the world, training yourself to actually see the complexities of the world and see how to act in the world. These rituals, which may sound very distant in a very literal way, they're from 2,000 years ago, aren't that unlike what we are talking about today. They're a lot like education done well. They're all about training yourself to really see the world around you, learn to act in the world around you, learn to work with the world around you. This is really what they're talking about. And oftentimes, a second thing will happen. And in a sense, this is kind of the test. And the test is often some kind of dramatic crisis. Oftentimes, there'll be the big ones that will come later in their lives where, since these are positive narratives, the people will respond well. But in these early crises, the sense is rather something big will happen that will be an occasion. Oftentimes, it's a disaster of some sort, but it will be an occasion for them to see that the world that they thought that was perfectly fine around them, the lives they were comfortable leading, had problems and needed to be rethought. And it's because of the ritual training they were doing that they became able to use those moments to begin rethinking the world around them. Now, at this point, my analogy is probably becoming clear, so let me lay it out explicitly. We're here to celebrate the ritual training you've been doing. We call this education. And meanwhile, something else has occurred. This pandemic that forced all of our lives to, in an almost literal sense, stop for a while, has had a dramatic effect on other things as well. I remember, I'm sure you all do, those first few months of the pandemic when the quarantines began. And oftentimes what we would hear, sadly, I think most of us were even using these expressions ourselves, saying, oh, I can't wait until we can return to normal life again. In other words, the sense was the lives we were leading were pretty good. They were certainly very comfortable. And soon the pandemic will be over and we can return to life as normal. And then, as the quarantine continued and continued much longer than any of us expected, it's become clear that a shift has occurred where we're not simply saying, let's return to life as normal. We've begun using this moment to rethink the world around us, to rethink, have we really built successful economies in which people can really have equal opportunities? Have we really created the kind of meritocratic societies that we'd like to think we're living in? But have we? Have we really done the work we need to do to eradicate horrible hierarchies and racism in the world around us? It's become clear, no, we haven't. Have we built a world that is working well with the natural world? Needless to say, we have not done that. And this has become a moment when these problems that I think we all kind of knew, sadly, but weren't really facing up to, it's become a moment when I think we've begun to do that individually and globally. And the reason I like to bring this up today in this moment of ritual celebration for your graduation is that this is something I think that may make your generation very special. My generation, speaking in these same terms, kind of failed in these senses. Individually, I think we failed, but collectively, we had patterned lives. We felt that we were living in a world that was fine, and we continued living in that world that seemed fine. And the result is the world I just described, a world in which all of the problems that we are now facing up to were allowed to continue and grow dramatically and get much worse than they would have been if we'd started struggling with them 1, 2, 3 decades ago. And yes, for all of the difficulty of both the pandemic itself and all of the difficulty of having to face up to what the world really currently is and the problems it really has, the wonderful thing about your generation is precisely because this pandemic has occurred at the key moment when you are also doing the ritual training, the education, you may be really in a position to rethink the world at a level that many generations, mine sadly included, failed to do. And so, congratulations on today. Congratulations on your graduation. And I'd even like to go out on a limb and say congratulations on what I suspect you all will be doing, individually and generationally at a collective level. Because I do think, and seeing this past year play out, strongly believe that your generation is going to rethink the world in a way my generation didn't. I think you will create a better world for yourselves and for the generations to come. And that is a world in which you individually will be able to flourish, and collectively, your generation and again, the ones to come will be able to flourish as well. So congratulations on the work you've been doing on these many years of hard educational training. Incredibly exciting, but difficult. Congratulations as well on this past year during the pandemic. Also hard, incredibly tragic for many of us, and yet perhaps the beginning of a rethinking of the world. So please build on what you have been doing in these past few years in terms of education. This past year, even if it was forced upon us, in terms of the stoppage of the world for a brief moment, and build on each of these. Allow yourselves to become the kind of extraordinary individuals you now know you are capable of becoming, and collectively commit yourself to rethinking the world around you, building a better world. I think your generation has an opportunity to do something certainly other generations had but failed to live up to, and perhaps with the confluence of so many circumstances, including these incredibly difficult ones of the past year, you are now in a position to do so. I, in many ways, wish I were in your generation. I think the possibilities that will now await you are extraordinary. Live up to them. Have an extraordinary, extraordinary next several years individually and collectively. Let's try to build a better world for the generations to come. Thank you so much. Congratulations. I wish very much that I could be there with you personally, but again, it's telling of themes that we will want to think about, that all of this has to be done virtually. And that fact that we are being forced to live in a different world perhaps has the seeds, or at least the possibility of planting the seeds to create something better. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Before we move on, I would first like to say a few words for Dasha. Dasha was one of the first people that I met at AUC, and I remember bonding with her over starting AUC at a really young age. And even though we were not that close, I will still always remember her as one of the sweetest people that I've met at AUC. And my heart goes out to all her friends and family and her loved ones and everyone else who is struggling with her loss at this time. I hope you all have a lot of strength and love and support, and we will all get through this together.
Unfortunately, last week's tragic news reminded me of something that I think I want to share. During these 3 years, I found out that most people at AUC are really cool. And everyone has at least one thing that is peculiar, interesting, or joyful to bring to the group or to any conversation. And last week I realized that at some point you're not able to get to know that anymore. And that point is getting very near to us. So I want everyone to look left and right to you and ask yourself the question, do you know that one peculiar, interesting thing that they would bring to the table? You will have 1 week, I think, depending on when they are going to move. Last week really confronted me with that, and I hope everyone will be able to see the fun things in each other before we all go apart into the world. Now, that being said, I would like to thank Martin and Michael on the screen. I hope you can hear this on the other side of the world, for their inspiring words. And I'm now going to...
Before that, I think it is also called for to have a non-virtual congratulations for all of you guys. So a big round of applause for all of you guys for making it to the graduation ceremony.
So now we're going to go forward. So we have a special guest, an AUC lecturer and tutor, Michael Mackesy, here in the room. He is not only a lecturer, he's also a statistics legend. From what I know is that he has put a lot of creativity into his lectures, but also passion about anything, and made that passion spread beyond the lectures. That is why I, not knowing anything about the statistics curriculum, almost signed up for ARMS, because there was some very exciting promo message that I stumbled my way. So I'm looking forward to, he will give a physical speech, and I'm looking very forward to that enthusiasm that I noticed, even though I've never met him before. But there are also a few technicalities. After that speech, Michael will list your name, and that means you can go up, walk in front to the stage, and you can get a ceremonial certificate, a nice fancy paper to throw in the air sometime. And after that, you can you flip your tassel the other way around, because then officially now you're suddenly graduated, and you go to Praksha will explain more about that. Am I missing something? Yeah, your actual diploma will be handed out in around August, September. You can then pick it up, or it will be sent digitally online for especially those that are going to move away. There will also be a Zoom wall, which will turn on Yes, yeah, yeah. So you can see some of your parents or friends watching you as they are watching you, which means that there's kind of an audience of all your family here. And for the people at home, you will see a beautiful beamer with people's pictures that they pick themselves, their full names, so that your friends can tease you with your official name, and also their capstone and capstone title. So for the people at home, capstone is the AUC versions of a bachelor's thesis, and it shows what they are really interested in and what they could find the time and passion for to do half a year of research into. So, oh, hey, here we have the Zoom wall turned on. Welcome, everyone. Yeah, I think that is everything that I was supposed to say. And Preksha is going to elaborate a little bit more on the ABCD.
Yeah. So as Bram mentioned, please walk up the center aisle on the red carpet when your name is called, and you can pick up the certificate from here. This ceremony is contactless for Corona reasons, so you can just pick it up and walk down the stairs and stand on the corresponding letter. So you all have seat numbers, so you can just go and stand there, and then after everyone from every row has after everyone from each row has stood there, you will all then walk back together, and then everyone can also applaud. Applaud. And yeah, that's it, I think. So after a long explanation on how to walk, let's invite Michael Mackesy to confer the degrees.
Okay, thank you for that introduction and the compliments. Okay, we made it. Well, I didn't have the honor of being the tutor for any of you, anyone graduating this year, except for two people that I inherited from a tutor who switched to head of studies, and I didn't even get to know those two people at all. So anyway, I'm speaking to you now as a representative of your tutor and of the entire tutoring team, from our senior tutor down to all the rest of us. Most of you were in this same room almost 3 years ago, maybe all of you were, during introduction week of 2018. Remember back then? You were filled with anticipation about what the next 3 years would bring, perhaps some doubts as well. You weren't expecting what we got in the middle of that, but you didn't know exactly what was going to come your way. We tutors, at least those of us who have some experience over the years, know that for every new cohort of first-year students who come in, there's usually some who aren't going to complete the bachelor in 3 years, and some who are going to manage it, but will need a lot of extra support along the way. Others might need an extra semester or 2 or 3 or 4. Some will choose to leave AUC. Perhaps they decide some other direction suits them better, or they realize they're just not able to keep up with the demanding pace and high expectations that we have here. Sadly, but thankfully rarely, some leave us in a tragic way. So this is for a typical cohort in ordinary times, but of course, none of us could have imagined that after 3 normal semesters, we would enter a global pandemic that would turn our lives upside down, stripping all of us of many conveniences that we previously taken for granted, forcing us to adapt to online lectures, social distancing, isolation from loved ones, travel restrictions, and the partial or even full closure of our building. This loss had a profound impact on many of our students, as well as us, the staff. And we tutors began to hear more and more from our tutees who were struggling struggling with lack of motivation, higher stress levels, depression, anxiety, and so on. And consequently, their academic performance also suffered. The educational experience in the final 3 semesters of your bachelor have been far from what any of us expected in intro week 2018. Indeed, we expected that this week we would all be together in the Carré Theater for the graduation instead of divided amongst 6 separate ceremonies here in our lovely academic building. AUC has tutors for its students because we have a format that allows students to customize their own path to their bachelor degree within certain parameters. And there are a lot of options available within AUC and outside AUC. And the rules and procedures can be a bit complicated. So we provide each student with someone who can help guide them through the maze and get them to this point where we sit today. Your tutor is supposed to guide you through the maze, but there's nothing in the job description that says your tutor has to genuinely care about you as a person. But in fact, we do care. When we see that you're in pain, we feel it too. When we observe the pandemic taking a toll on your emotional well-being, we ache for you. Quite often in the past 16 months, we tutors have consulted with each other over how best to help a tutee who's struggling within our limited range of influence. We are very grateful that our Student Life Office is available as a resource to help us in helping you. But I hope each of you had a positive experience with your tutor as a caring person to whom you could turn when things got difficult. And if so, I urge you to send them a thank you message. Now, looking ahead, what comes next? Further education? Employment? Time off? No idea? Certainly, we have learned that life does not always go the way we expected. There are surprises ahead, some good, some not so good. Our plans can run up against unforeseen obstacles, and our dreams may not come true in quite the way we scripted them. This can be frustrating and even soul-crushing. But I think what we learned here, as has also been commented on by others who've already spoken, you don't have to go through these experiences alone. Life isn't going to assign you a tutor now to guide you from today until you're old. So it's up to you to cultivate relationships with good, caring people, including more experienced people who can give you good advice when you need it. But in general, we all need positive, trustworthy friends and loved ones to whom we can turn when we are hurting or feeling a bit lost. This means we ourselves also need to be that kind of friend and partner to others, of course. So whatever lies ahead, surround yourselves with people who care about you and about whom you care, and reach out to them when you're struggling. I hope it has been your experience that your tutors, as well as your lecturers and other contacts at AUC, have been good models for you of that kind of supportive, caring person I am describing, and that you will be leaving AUC knowing that we value you greatly, we are proud of you, and we wish you nothing but happiness and success. Okay, and now we will read the names of our graduates for this 1/6 of the graduating class. Let's make it our convention that we clap for the person when they pick up their folder up here, so that we're not all clapping at different times, okay? So, shall we begin? Ferdi Balta. Nina Bavink. Dana Bauknecht. Philly Cool. And now we pause to let everyone return to their seats. Next, Amanda Dagron. Eva Dijkstra. Vivian van Doren. Sarah Duroy. And another pause. Noria Kishla. Emma Heidemann. Tim Holthausen. Sarah de Jong. Pause. Rosalie de Kerf. Sophie Coleman. Elina Koopman. Maxime Koos. Maxim Kovinev. Felix Kuiken. Joella Landucci. Stijn Maathaus. Shakuntala Ramnath. Annemijn Moors. Zoar Preminger. Sam Sluwe. Now the time for people to walk up here gets longer and longer as they come from farther and farther back. Anna Spiering. Anna van Velsen. Rochelle Villani. We're waiting for them to sit now. Laura Vissers. Karen Voet. Emma Freisen. Sporty. Rosa Weinen. Rui Jalot Weinskenk. Thomas de Wit. Margot Sommer. Lieke de Zwaard. Sarah Meyer. Gesa Caroline Müller. And joining us virtually, Benjamin Blauer. Congratulations, class of 2021.
Hello students, families, friends, and esteemed guests. Congratulations to the class of 2021 on graduating during a historic time. Over the past 2 years, you've overcome tremendous personal and academic challenges, made lifelong friends, and hopefully had some fun along the way. This is Julia Keizer, a graduate of the class of 2018 and the exquisite chair of the AUC Alumni Association.
With a group of alumni, we formed the AUC Alumni Association, an organization created to support, connect, and empower AUC's alumni.
Community is central to the AUC experience. It's the reason students learn and live together in a shared space. Julia, as a graduate of AUC, what does continued community mean to you?
For me, it means staying connected to a place that holds a lot of good memories and being able to catch up with friends. For instance, an AUC moment that I will always remember is finally handing in our capstones, feeling excited for the upcoming summer and graduate programs, and having some well-deserved fun. After leaving AUC, the people I met, things I learned, and experiences I went through remained close to my heart as I started my graduate life.
As you're preparing to leave AUC, you have endless possibilities, and that's the nature of liberal arts, am I right? AUC alumni have the potential to inspire you in your careers and support you as you develop social networks outside of being a student. Even if you don't have your whole future planned out, you have a safe space to return to, full of people who have shared really unique and transformational experiences with you.
The AUCAA treasures community, and we hereby want to formally invite you to join ours. Just because your time at AUC has come to an end does not mean your AUC experience ends here as well. We wish you a lot of luck in whatever you choose to do, and we hope you come back to tell us about it. Let us be your next community.
Well, thank you so much, Geraldine, for your invitation. And I'm happy to see, I'm not sure. You'll meet her in a bit. And I'm happy to see that probably as of this moment, we have the AUC Alumni Association has around 30-40 more members now, or at least I hope. We'll now move on to the next bit, and that is the valedictorian speech. This year's valedictorian is Benjamin Wagevoort, who was actually graduating a few hours before. He is a colleague of mine, actually, in a few ways, because I've worked with him as doing treasure together, but also him checking up on me. But he's been active in many different areas as well. Academically, he was very passionate about the classes he did. Also, sometimes very fierce in some discussions that were very humorous. Always brought original ideas and very dry humor, which I really appreciated. And today he is going to give a side that I didn't always see from him in an amazing speech that he prepared. The theme of his speech is celebration, which I hope you will all do tonight. Yeah, let's give it to Benjamin.
My tutor gave me this rock, and like this rock, he gave a similar rock to all of his other third-year tutees. We received it as a token to celebrate our end of AUC. Each of the rocks are unique and different from one another, yet they all have one thing in common. They're all fossils from the same extinct species that lived more than 450 million years ago. Like these rocks, we are gathered here today because we have one thing in common. We have managed to successfully survive the academic life at AUC. And mirroring these rocks, we also started our journey together and are now ending it together. As these rocks, we've been shaped in our own unique way. And by coming together, working together, talking together, we have affected and been affected by each other. By the differences and uniqueness in each of our paths, with our own ups and downs, highs and lows, battles and victories, we all managed to arrive at the same mutual end, our end of AUC. And today, that's what we're celebrating. Us, our graduation. But what exactly are we celebrating? Have we now become excellent and diversity in a global city? See, we've all encountered AUC on multiple fronts. AUC has been our home in many ways. AUC has been excellent in giving us the opportunity to live with our friends as neighbors. It has been excellent in offering enlightening discussions, with the occasional beer or two to further enhance our thoughts. AUC has also been excellent in bureaucratic and administrative mess-ups, and perhaps also excellent in serving slightly overpriced sandwiches. AUC has been diverse. Sometimes we had lectures in the AB, and suddenly not. AUC has been diverse in sometimes we received our grades on time, sometimes not so much. Now, but AUC has been diverse in letting us develop in our own unique way, and that's it. Balance. Excellence and sometimes less excellence. Diversity and community. Global, but local. Perhaps we today here are celebrating something similar, but yet vastly different. We are not and have not become excellent, but we've excelled. We are not and have not become diversity. We've diversified our perspectives, our ideas, our lives. We are not and have not become global, but our ideas through discussion with each other have globalized our views. Some of us have excelled in literature, others in movies, music, medicine, health, economics, and even others in physics, chemistry, and computer science, and many, many, many more things. As important as these things, we, some more than others, have also excelled in becoming Spar pizza connoisseurs. We've excelled in memorizing Maslow's menu by heart, and even others have excelled in wine and beer tastings, or finally mastering the art of doing your own laundry. Just as each of us has excelled in our own unique ways, we, by coming together and discussing our ideas, have diversified. By discussing our unique paths, we have achieved in broadening and globalizing our perspectives. See, for by sharing our unique problems, we solve our problems. By sharing our ups and downs, we make bonds between each other. And by sharing our uniqueness together, we excel and diversify together. And so perhaps that's what we're celebrating. Now, today marks our mutual end of AUC, but it also marks the beginning of our future. We will once more embark further on our own unique quest, excelling in becoming authors, doctors, or astronauts. We will once more encounter different ups, different downs, different failures, and different successes. And I'm certain that we will uniquely excel in and shape our own future. So here, today, the present marks the end of our past together and the beginning of our future together. And this we should celebrate together. Celebrate our achievement of graduating. Celebrate the journey we've had and the journey we're yet to take. Celebrate our uniqueness, our community. Celebrate what we excel in and what we're yet to excel in. Celebrate what we've learned and what we will learn. Celebrate the experiences we've had and the experience we'll make, the people we meet and the friends we make. We should celebrate our unique paths and celebrate how we come together as one to discuss and create new ideas, to create new solutions, to foster change in order to develop and celebrate our future together, celebrating us. And yes, we have taken many paths and will continue to carve out new paths. And when our paths cross, that's when we celebrate together. That's when we live. But what does celebrating mean? What does it give us the opportunity for? Well, you may have realized, but what we've just went through, that it lets us reflect. But don't worry, I won't make you write another CPI reflection report today. We've done enough of those. Celebrating lets us reflect upon the past, set our sights towards the future, and ultimately lets us live in our present. We started together, we formed our own courses, sometimes in dispute with our tutors. We formed our own friendships, and we formed our own lives. We created and are creating our unique selves. We've shaped each other, and we've been shaped by each other. Through discussion, we excel. We've diversified our perspectives, and we've globalized our ideas. And through all of this, all of our ups and downs, highs and lows, all of our endless discussions and reflections, we return here today as ourselves and as one graduating class, celebrating. See, now we've excelled and have not excelled in many things. But let us show our friends, family members, professors, tutors, and more watching us right now that we can and will excel in one more thing, celebrating. For by celebrating the present, we celebrate the end of our past and the beginning of our future. By celebrating, we reflect. By celebrating, we grow. By celebrating, we live. And we may not have been able to celebrate as much as we would have liked in the past 17 months. But nonetheless, let us show that we can also excel in this, celebrating. So let us celebrate our achievement together in our own unique ways as one graduating class. Let us end our past with a bang and start our future flying by celebrating our present. Congratulations, graduates of 2021.
Before we end, I would like to say a few thank yous. So first of all, thank you to Benjamin for that amazing valedictorian speech. Thank you to Martin for his opening address. Thank you to Michael for his commencement address. And thank you to Geraldine and Julia for their welcome to the Alumni Association. Moreover, I would also like to thank Michael Mackesy for reading out the names and conferring the diplomas, and of course to everyone here who have been such a big part of organizing this event. Nora, Marcus, Amber, Benjamin, and Pascal, who's the sound guy. And finally, I would like to thank you guys, your friends, your families, and everyone who has been such a big part of your career at AUC and who have brought you to be able to sit at this graduation ceremony and be super proud of yourselves. I have a few reminders. The diploma will be available to be picked up at the end of August or beginning of September, or you can have it mailed to you. And another reminder that the yearbooks on your tables are for you to take, so please take them on your way out. And yeah, Bram will now give you some instructions on how to walk out.
Well, I hope you enjoy your entrance, which is a bit different than usual, which is the thousandth time I said that this year. We're also going to have a very special, grandiose, but structured exit. It's going to go row per row. We start at the back, we end at the front, and I'll call the row number. And then you can you go to your right, my left, to the path, and you go out the door, and then you see that emergency door light. I think Marcus is coming out of it right now. Yeah, thank you, Marcus. That's the door you're going to go out, and then a special surprise, Geraldine. Her presence is already nice, but also she's going to hand you a nice surprise from the AUC Alumni Association and something, my personal pet project that I did together with Stijn and the help of the whole board, something from the Student Association. You're not going to have a tote bag, so sorry for that, for your inconvenience. That policy came straight out of me. Sorry for that. I think everything is clear now. So we'll start with the last row, which is row number 10.
Please stand up and
Yeah,
walk to the
yeah, and
Right.
screwed out. And then they are ready, so it's time for number 9. Row 8 is expected to graduate. A friendly reminder also, 1.5 meters distance is inside, but also outside a bit, because it's still university area and it still belongs to the event. You know, classic, you've heard me say this the whole year. So 1.5 meters, if you feel like, oh, what's 1.5 meters? You just hold up your arm, you see if you hit the other person's arm. Row number 7 is on turn, and good luck playing 7-11. Then we go to 6. Yeah, I just. What was the word for that elongated thing? Row number 5. I'm gonna recycle the joke from this morning, but 2 + 2 is 4. -1, that's 3 quick maths. And we're left with the 2 of us. And we have arrived at the final countdown. Nice seeing you guys. Very glad I could still be here, even though I'm not graduating. So, best power move ever.